Good morning, everyone. This is Julie McDonald with Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar with SureCall. Today's host is Dustin McElprang, and he is their National Key Account Manager. He will be presenting today, and if anyone has any questions, please submit them in the question box, and Dustin will answer them at the end of today's presentation. Dustin, thank you so much for being with us today. I am finished for now. Please go ahead and take it on over.
Thank you very much, Julie, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar with SureCall. Today we're going to be reviewing some signal booster solutions offered by SureCall. Before we jump into that, let's review the brief agenda that we'll go over today. First, I'm going to hit just basic high level on who SureCall is. I know many of you have probably attended webinars hosted by SureCall, and many of you might already know much about us, but thought I'd hit on that, give you a refresher on who we are. We'll then jump into what a passive DAS or what a cell phone signal booster system is and how it works. From there, we'll move into some of SureCall's key vertical markets, focus products, and then as Julie mentioned at the end, I would be more than happy to take any questions from the audience. So SureCall has been around since about 2001. We're headquartered in Fremont, California, and the story of SureCall is actually very unique. Our CEO is actually from China. His name is Hong. He's somebody who very much has lived that American dream. He grew up overseas, went to college to become an engineer, and about 25, actually it was closer to 25, 30 years ago, he had the dream to come to America and to start a business, to be an entrepreneur. At that point, he came over, he landed in the Bay Area in California, and had just a few dollars in his pocket, so to speak. And from that point on, he started this company. He had a dream. He saw the problem with the increase in cell phones. He saw the problem with cell phone signal frequency being broadcasted inside of homes, and he started this company. And he's been very successful from that point forward. SureCall as a whole, we own 7 U.S. patents. There's over, actually this one says 18, there's actually over 20 pending or published patents. And then we have many awards we've won throughout the years, including this recent year at the Consumer Electronics Show just last month. A little bit about SureCall and what makes us unique and special. So when you're looking at a cell phone signal booster, there are a lot of specs that must be met in order to legally be operated. So all SureCall products are FCC and IC carrier approved. What that means is they are legal to be used in any country in North America, and they're going to work on any cell phone carrier in North America. Our products have what's called SureIQ, where no matter where they are installed, whether it's close to a tower or far away, it allows the booster to continue to operate at full capacity without being overloaded by either cell phones or by the cell phone tower. They're also all auto adjusting. So in the past, cell phone signal boosters had to be manually adjusted. In today's world, it's automatically adjusted. The further away you are from the cell tower, the more power they're going to put out, or the closer you are, they're going to adjust themselves to make sure that they're working at that optimum power level. Also, SureCall holds one of the most important patents that we hold is our 5-band cellular booster patent. What that means is any of our cell phones, as I mentioned, work on all carriers, but they work on 3G and 4G for all carriers in the US. All of our boosters are also future-proof, meaning they're going to work even when 5G rolls out, and we'll talk more about that here in the next few slides. I wanted to touch base on what causes weak cellular signal. The first one is going to be distance from a cell phone tower. We see this a lot in suburban or rural America, where either it's community or maybe you have customers who just live so far out in the hills that they're too far away from that tower. And oftentimes what happens is your cell phone might show that there's signal, but you can't connect a call or your customer can't make a call. And what's happening there is the tower usually has plenty of power to send a signal to the cell phone, but the cell phone doesn't always have enough power to send it back to the tower. And so distance from the cell phone tower is one of the biggest contributors to weak cell phone signal. The next one is going to be terrain, whether it's mountainous areas or actually even come summertime, leaves on trees and foliage. As odd as it sounds, but leaves block signal quite a bit. And obviously, if you're in mountains or canyons, it's going to block the signal. And one of the biggest reasons for weak cellular signal is building materials. I want to touch base a little bit more on building materials because that tends to be probably the most prevalent reason that you're going to see your customers complaining about weak cell phone signal. When you look inside of a home or a building, everything will either reflect or absorb the cellular signal. Right here, we can see a list of common materials that you're going to find inside of a home or inside of a building. And you're going to see by how many decibels these materials block the cell phone signal. Just for reference, every 3 dB increase or decrease cuts that cell phone signal in half. So in other words, you're looking at drywall. The typical drywall will block cell phone signal by 2 decibels. What that means is it's going to almost cut that signal in half, and the coverage area inside of the building is going to be reduced in half. And you've got things like plywood or solid oak. These things block it by 4 or 5 dB, greatly affecting the cell phone signal. And then as we get into some more modern buildings, or especially inner city, you're going to see brick, plaster, concrete. All of these things are going to essentially block the signal altogether. And then one of the interesting ones is actually low E glass. You can see through it, but it's going to block the signal the most. And so what we've learned is as us as a society continues to be more focused on being energy efficient, it's actually coming at a cost to cell phone signal. Just recently, 3 years ago, we built a house, my wife and I, and the roof of it actually has what's called a radiant barrier. So on top of the low E glass and the stucco and the brick, got foil lining in the roof, which is great for my energy bill, but terrible for my cell phone. And we're going to see this continuing to increase throughout the country as we continue to be more energy focused and continue to try to save more money in those areas. So I want to touch base on how a signal booster works. The scale at the left will kind of show a cell phone tower, and it'll give you an idea of what excellent signal is like in decibels and what no signal is like. To put it into terms that we all understand, the excellent signal on your cell phone is going to show as 5 bars of signal. The good signal strength might show as 3 or 4 bars of signal. The poor signal strength will show as probably 2 or 1 bars of signal, and then no signal, we're looking at no bars visible on your cell phone. So the cell phone sends a signal to your home. What happens is, again, from that previous slide, based on the structure and the materials in your home, that signal is going to either be absorbed or it's going to bounce right back off. So what our systems do is they provide a source for the signal to go from outside to inside. And we're going to talk more about the installation and the setup of these in a minute, but this just gives you a simple idea of how they work, how the outside antenna grabs the signal, brings it inside to a booster, and then rebroadcasts it inside of the building to the phones or to whatever cellular devices might be being used. When we look at our key vertical markets, we cover quite a bit. Oil and gas, there's the vehicle market, the in-building market, which covers both residential and commercial, as well as public safety. Today, we're going to focus primarily on the vehicle market, and we're just going to touch base on that. And we're going to spend the most of our time on the in-building market. When we look at the in-vehicle market, this covers a wide variety of users, everyone from truck drivers to first responders to commuters who are traveling to and from work, even world travelers who like to get out and see the country. So many of these people rely on their cell phone on the go. Hopefully they're not texting and driving, but maybe they're attending a webinar or a conference call, or as the next slide will show, trying to keep the kids entertained on that long road trip. Whatever the case might be, I think it's safe to say we've all experienced a time when we're traveling in a car where that cell phone signal was weak. We couldn't find our destination. We couldn't use our Google Maps, or for some reason we couldn't contact our loved ones or whoever it might be to let them know that we arrived to our destination safely. So because of that, SureCall has a full line of vehicle signal boosters. Our first one starts off at the $199 price point. This is MSRP. This is called our in-range. The great thing with this product is it's a great entry-level product for any of your customers who are not sure what a cell phone signal booster is, or who might think it's smoke and mirrors, right? A lot of these items do cost money, and so this is a lower price point that can help them get their feet wet, so to speak. Again, it is a single user device, but it's going to boost 3G and 4G signal for all carriers. The next vehicle booster is our Fusion to Go 3.0. The MSRP on this item is $399. This is going to boost signal inside of a car or a truck, and again, for all carriers. We then go on to our Fusion to Go 3.0 Fleet. This is going to be designed for police cars, fleet vehicles, whether that's semis or oil field workers, or even any other number of first responder vehicles, such as ambulances, fire trucks, etc. One of our top and most powerful boosters, and especially the most powerful signal booster for vehicles in this category, is our Fusion to Go Max. This one has some unique technologies. That shark fin antenna that you see sits on top of the car, and what it does is it actually grabs the signal and it boosts the low bands right away. So when we look at cell phone signal frequencies, there's many bands and many channels used. Everything from low band, which is going to be your 1900 megahertz, down to the 4G frequencies, which you're going to see in the 700 megahertz. Oftentimes in rural areas, it's those low bands that the cell phone frequency reverts to because they are able to travel and propagate further. And again, with the Fusion to Go Max, that outside antenna grabs those low bands, boosts it right away, brings it into the vehicle to the booster, which will then reboost the frequencies and then transmit it to your phone. And the process is then reversed as it's sent back to the cell phone tower. The last vehicle option is our Fusion to Go 3.0 RV. Now, when we're looking at cell phone boosters for vehicles, you might ask which ones are best for which areas. So I wanted to kind of break it out and show you, or give you an idea of which boosters would work best. So for cars and trucks, you're going to have the Fusion to Go Max, the Fusion to Go 3.0, and the in-range. These are all going to be great options for vehicles. Again, the in-range is a lower price point. It's going to be more focused for that person who just wants it for one single device, whereas the Fusion to Go Max and the Fusion to Go 3.0 will boost that signal inside of the entire cab of the car or the truck. For fleet vehicles, obviously the Fusion to Go Fleet is up there, as well as the Fusion to Go Max and the Fusion to Go 3.0. Something to point out that these items can be interchanged. Something that's good for a car or truck will definitely also work in a fleet or an RV. And then with RV and what we actually see quite a bit, mobile command centers, we have the Fusion to Go 3.0 RV. When we're looking at our vehicle boosters, they're very easy to install. In essence, you put the magnet mount antenna on the top of the vehicle, you open the door, run the cable inside, and at this point you can simply run it inside and close the door, but it does kind of leave a messy look. And so what we recommend a lot of customers to do is to tuck that cable in the weather stripping of the door. The signal booster would then be placed underneath the seat that the outside antenna would connect to. And then there's that inside antenna that will actually communicate and send the signal to the devices. And you power it up and you're done. And again, with these, the beautiful thing with our vehicle boosters is as you're driving down the road, your phone will look at the signal booster as its own cell tower. And it'll continue to work seamlessly as you go from town to town or past different towers. The Fusion to Go Fleet is the only one that does take a little bit more work being installed. And we do recommend, if you have any customers who ask about that or who need that it is professionally installed. The reason for that is because you have to drill a hole in the top of the vehicle, and then it's best to tuck that cable in the lining. Again, that's going to be more for fleet vehicles, semis, even police vehicles. Moving on to our in-building or residential boosters. Now, these are going to be great for home offices, people who work from home, for apartments, condos, remote stations, even small retail stores. In today's world, 55% of Americans are wireless only, meaning they don't have landline. I know that's the case for me and my wife. Our cable provider had offered us a discount if we got a landline with it, but we just didn't see any need for it. The problem with that, again, as I alluded to at the beginning, as we continue to be more energy focused and energy efficient, it's making it more and more difficult for the signal to enter the homes, especially in downtown urban areas where there's so much concrete and steel and brick structures. With so many people relying on their cell phones to work, to keep in contact with family and friends, to post a picture of your latest meal on social media, or even with the spread, I think we're all aware of the concern with the coronavirus or any other illness. Folks that use their cell phone for apps such as Teledoc, that allows you to call into a doctor and speak to them remotely. Because of those things, being able to be connected on your cell phone is more important than ever before. And with that, I want to go into and discuss our top 2 family of boosters when it comes to in-home boosters. And those are our Flare Signal Booster family and our Fusion for Home Signal Booster family. We're going to start with our Fusion for Home Signal Booster family. These kit options include our Fusion for Home Omni Whip Kit. This retails for $2.99, and with this one, the beauty with it is it's very simple to install. It has an omnidirectional external antenna, which is that white antenna you see, and then it has a whip style antenna that goes on the inside. And so the booster and that black whip antenna are meant to be set on a desk or on a table, and that whip antenna is what sends the signal to your phone. The next option is our Fusion for Home Yagi Whip. Now, with this one, it has a directional Yagi external antenna. What this means and what this allows is it actually has about 4 dB more gain, that Yagi antenna does, over the whip or over the Omni antenna that's in the first kit. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning, every 3 dB increase doubles the coverage area inside. And so you can see where the Fusion for Home Yagi Whip will be a great option for people with a little bit larger homes. And we'll talk, as far as size of homes, we'll touch base on that here in just a minute. The next option is our Fusion for Home Yagi Panel Kit. Again, this one utilizes that Yagi directional outside antenna, very strong, very high gain. As well, instead of a whip style antenna, which only has about 1 dB of gain, it has an internal panel antenna that's intended to be mounted on a wall. This provides, again, 7 dB more gain, which is double the coverage area. And then our last kit is actually exclusive to Microcom, and that is our Fusion for Home Yagi panel, but this one includes a J-pole mount. So that external Yagi antenna needs to be mounted on some kind of pole up on the roof. And again, we'll look at that here in a moment. But with this kit, it's something we've worked together with Dave on to create a bundle that's exclusive to you guys. Something that you guys don't have to compete with Amazon on, something you guys don't have to compete with anyone else on. And so this kit will only be found on Microcom's website. Now, why the Fusion for Home? I want to just briefly review some of the benefits and features of the Fusion for Home. Depending on which kit you use, the Yagi panel kit being the most powerful, it can boost coverage for 3G and 4G in areas up to 5,000 square feet. The Fusion for Home, because of some of the technologies and features, are going to be best for homes in rural or suburban areas. And obviously, they're going to also work great in urban areas. And also, as I mentioned in the beginning, all of our products are future-proof. What that means is they're going to work for all 5G phones. Once 5G rolls out, it's going to be primarily in urban areas. And even when it extends out to some of the rural areas, most of the cellular usage will still be on 4G. And so any of our products are going to work for years and years to come on that 4G frequency. Some of the unique features of the Fusion for Home include our exclusive 2XP technology, which provides twice the signal power going back to the tower. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning, oftentimes your phone can receive the signal from the cell tower, it just doesn't have the power to send it back. I don't know if anybody remembers back in the day when bag phones were around, they had up to 3 watts of output power. Today's phone, especially as they continue to add more computer technology and better cameras, they have to decrease the size of the antenna and the cellular. Today's phones put out less than half of a watt of output power. With the SureCall Fusion for Home, you're able to get up to 1 watt of output power, which again allows you to be further away from the cell phone tower and still have the power needed to send the signal back. The Fusion for Home is carrier approved, has a 72 decibel gain, and it has manual or automatic adjustments. Has lifetime tech support, and we offer the industry-leading 3-year warranty and 60-day money-back guarantee. Installation is very simple. First, let's look at the Omni kit, which has that Omni or white external antenna. With that one, you simply mount that antenna vertically. What that does is it's going to send and receive signal from all directions. And so let's say you're in an urban area or even in a rural area and you're not sure where the cell phone tower is. This is always a safe solution because it is the easiest to install. Once that antenna is mounted, you run cable inside the home, hook it up to the Fusion for Home booster, power it up, and you're done. This is going to, again, boost signal coming in as well as going out. Now, if we look at one of the Yagi panel kits, this one does take a little bit more work to install. The reason being is that Yagi external antenna needs to be pointed in the direction of the cell phone tower. There are apps and websites that can help a customer determine which direction his or her cell phone tower is. And as always, our tech support and our customer support are available to help them walk them through a process to determine which area they need to point that signal. Beyond that, the steps are very simple. Run the cable inside, hook it up to the Fusion for Home cell phone signal booster, mount that panel antenna on a wall, plug it in, and you're done. Now again, something I want to point out is because it's boosting the signal coming in, you're going to get more coverage, right? Fewer dropped calls. Areas of the home where previously a customer may have had to run outside or run to a window, they're now going to be able to get coverage throughout their entire home. As well, for any customers who rely on their cell phones for internet, for streaming devices, because our boosters have that increased output power that I mentioned, that's going to provide faster data speeds, faster upload speeds, and faster download speeds. The next option I want to look at is our Flare signal booster. This one MSRP is for $299. Some of the features of it are very similar to the Fusion for Home Omni Whip kit, and I'll explain why in a moment. Again, with the Flare, and apologies, this says Yagi panel, but it's going to boost signals up to 2,000 square feet. It's going to be good for small homes in rural or suburban areas, and again, it's future-proof. The nice thing with the Flare is it does have a modern design and look, whereas the Fusion for Home does look a little bit clunky to be setting on a table. This one, we designed it with looks in mind, trying to make it look nice to set on a table or set on a bookshelf. And just as the Fusion for Home Omni Whip, installation is very simple. Mount the external antenna, run the cable inside the home, connect the cable to the Flare booster, power it up, and you're done. Now, from this point, the question is, which product is right for your customer? If you have somebody call in saying they need a cell phone signal booster or saying they continue to drop calls, how do you know which kit to recommend? I've tried to lay this out in a way that makes sense, and it will work about 90% of the time. And I'll explain the other 10% here in a minute. So for homes up to 2,000 square feet, we recommend the Flare signal booster or the Fusion for Home signal booster, the Omni Whip version. Again, both of these retail for $299, and they're both the easiest to install because they have that omnidirectional external antenna, and there's nothing to do on the inside besides plug the cable in and power up the booster. For homes up to 3,000 square feet, we recommend the Fusion for Home Yagi Whip. With this one, again, that Yagi antenna, bringing in double the power, is going to be able to increase and double the coverage area inside. And then for homes up to 5,000 square feet, we would recommend the Fusion for Home Yagi panel, which is the most powerful of all of them because of that Yagi external antenna as well as the panel internal antenna. As always, we are here to help however we can. We have data sheets and manuals available for anybody who might be looking, as well for any questions or inquiries you might have. We do recommend you email sales@surecall.com, and actually more importantly, I recommend you email me. Please take down my email address and even my cell phone number. If any of your customers call in with questions on booster, questions on which one is best, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Going back real quick, I mentioned 90% of the time, these are the systems we recommend for these coverage areas, but there is a caveat. And let me explain that real quick. Let's say a customer calls in, he has a 2,500 square foot home, but he has very, very weak signal outside. Outside, he has one bar, he can barely make calls. Because of the extreme weak signal, the Fusion for Home Yagi whip may not be the best solution. We might recommend you upgrade to the Fusion for Home Yagi panel, which has more coverage. Cell phone signal boosters work a lot like multiplication. They rely on the outside signal. Keep in mind, these systems do not make signal. They simply take the signal that's there, boost it, amplify it, and rebroadcast it. And like multiplication, the larger the number is you start with, the larger the outcome is. Or in other words, the greater the signal is at that outside antenna, the more coverage area you're going to get inside. And so that's why I recommend, if you have any questions, to feel free to email me, call me, or text me on my cell phone, especially in areas where the customer is in a rural area and they have extremely weak signal and you're not sure which kit to recommend. We're more than happy to hop on calls with any customers, hop on calls with any of the sales team, help you guys understand the product, and again, provide any recommendations that you might need. Thank you very much again for your time today. Julie, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Dustin, for that wonderful presentation. And it looks like we have some questions for you. Let's get started with the first one. And you touched on several of these. So the first question here says, what frequency is utilized on each antenna?
It's a really good question. And so I can send you a data sheet, and I don't know who I should send that to. Maybe I'll send it to Julie and to Dave for you guys to send out. But the antennas, again, our current solutions are 5-band. So they're going to cover everything from the low 700 frequency up to the higher frequencies. That includes the 700, the 800, the 1900, the 2100. And so there are a lot of frequencies that are used, and which ones are being used in each area depend on the carrier. Verizon in one area might operate on a certain set of frequencies and channels, and in a different area, they might operate on a completely different set. And so it kind of varies location to location.
Excellent. Thank you, Dustin. And yes, you can send that information to me and Dave. I appreciate that. Next question here for you, and you just talked about it. Could one go to your website and look and double check how many units or what unit would be best for their property? And you just talked about that, but can we find that information pretty quickly from SureCall, perhaps, like I said, on your website?
You definitely can. One thing I want to point out, we are in the middle of rebuilding our website. And so as we go through that process, some data might be added and taken away. Always go there and check, but if ever there's a question, please email me, call me, or text me, and we can make sure we get you that answer.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Next question is regarding materials that disrupt cellular signal. Can we find that list of all those different materials you discussed as well?
That list is not currently on our website. It is on our blog, and let me find the link to that and I can send it out as well. I can send out a hard copy of it, an electronic copy of it to you guys. And with that, and actually what I might do is send out a cheat sheet. We have a cheat sheet that talks about all of our products and the optimum coverage areas for each of them. and it does include that list of building materials as well.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Dustin. Couple more questions. Next one here. Regarding 5G and when it rolls out, and you did touch on this, would most people be able to continue to use the same hardware? Will there be a time or a situation where there's new hardware to purchase to be, in line with 5G? Because you did say, most everyone will still be on 4G at that point.
A good question. Let me expound a little bit further on that. When 5G rolls out, right now they're focusing on urban areas. What they're learning is there's a very big hurdle to overcome with 5G. And that goes back to signal propagation, or in other words, the building material and how well the signal enters a building. What we've learned, and what some of the carriers have learned, is with 5G, that signal does not propagate even trees or around corners. It is it's very fast, but because of the frequency wavelength, it does not travel far and it does not propagate well. And so with that being said, urban areas are going to see 5G first. Your rural areas, from what we've heard, as we've talked with some of the industry experts, are still anywhere from 5 to 10 years out. And even at that period, and at that time when it does roll out to those areas, it's going to be for that higher data speed. And yes, all phones will still be utilizing 4G, just as today, all phones use 3G and 4G. At that point, 4G will still very much be used. And sorry, Julie, to expand a little bit further on the question of the hardware, yes, when 5G comes out and a customer says, hey, I want a booster for 5G, it will require a hardware upgrade. Unfortunately, there's no software upgrade that'll be done. It has to do with the actual physical properties of the booster, which we are currently working on.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dustin, for that. Next question here for you. Regarding Fusion for Home, how weatherproof are your antennas? And do we use a different antenna for different weather conditions or that sort of thing?
So all of our antennas are 100% weatherproof, meaning that water, snow, ice is not going to affect them. If you look at the bottom of our panel, our Yagi antenna, it has holes drilled to allow for drainage. But yes, the antennas that are included in the kits are the same antennas that would be used in sunny Florida or in the mountains where they receive 10 feet of snow.
Excellent. Thank you again for that. You mentioned design support. Shall we contact you, or who is the best person or entity to reach out to regarding design support?
Really good question. And part of the reason I mentioned that has to do with the likelihood that a customer might call in and say, hey, I need this for my house. Hey, I also have this big office building that's 50,000 square feet. We do have kits for those areas as well. And I more so wanted to make you aware that we have those kits and we do offer that design assistance. If you do have anyone that needs design assistance, please reach out to me and I can gather the correct information. And we have a design team who provides a full bill of materials should it be needed for the larger buildings. And for the smaller buildings, again, if it's a question of, hey, my customer has 1,000 square foot home, but he has really weak signal, always feel free to reach out and we can give you our best recommendation on which kit would work best.
Thank you for that, Dustin. Regarding hours of support, you mentioned you're here in California, but calling or texting you or logging on to your website, can we do that anytime? Could that be considered at least, can we reach out to you 24/7? And then when could we expect perhaps a return answer to any kind of support requested?
Great question. We do have after hours support. That's for middle of the night type situations or late evening situations, where if you were to call into our customer support line, somebody would take your name and number and usually the next morning somebody would get back to you. What I'd recommend is if you do have any customers in the evening or even during the weekend that have questions, always feel free to text me, email me. I'm always working around the clock. And again, I'm here to make sure that as you guys are selling our systems and as customers are calling in inquiring about them or inquiring about what is available, that you guys are confident enough to know what there is, what the system does. And I will always take a call. I will always respond to a text or an email. No problem whatsoever.
Excellent. Thank you, Dustin. That's good to know. You're a hard worker like so many of us are as well. Last question here. Can you tell us where all the product is manufactured?
Yes, definitely. So with the Fusion for Home line of products, the Flare line of products, as well as the Fusion to Go line of products, or in other words, everything we've looked at today, all of the hardware components are sourced across seas. Final assembly is done here in the United States in our Fremont headquarters.
Thank you very much for that, Dustin, and thank you so much for answering all of our questions today. And thank you to everyone for attending. If you have any further questions, of course, please feel free to contact your sales rep or email us at sales@microcomtech.com. Or if you wish to view any of the products mentioned or shown here today, please visit us at www.microcom.us. And remember, this webinar presentation has been recorded and will be uploaded to our Microcom YouTube channel. So if you'd like to view it again, you can certainly do so. Thank you again, Dustin. Appreciate your time today. Presentation was excellent. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.